This is Dragon 28, the Amber Heart Amphithere. Now with this guy, I wanted to, again, I was just trying to move in sort of a completely different direction. And I gave him this big giant lower face and put the eye very high on the head. And again, it does remind me of a bird. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but it's definitely a different proportional approach than some of the other ones we've done. Now you can see here I start to decide that maybe I want to put the eye on the lower part of the head, which is always interesting to me about dragons. You know, they, even once you draw something and you establish an eye, for example, you know, it can be moved around and just completely changes the look of everything. And that's always amazed me how, you know, many places you can put these things and they don't look wrong. They just look very different. Now in this case, once I got this far and I started to realize that I liked the eye lower and I was going to commit to that, it again reminded me of some of these dinosaurs that have these very big, thick, bony plates on their forehead, more for something like ramming into their opponent with. So I went ahead and embraced that a little bit. And as far as, you know, the Amber Heart name on this particular drawing, you know, that may be something that I see a little bit of a shape develop on the top of the head. It could simply be that there is kind of a yellowish heart-like shape on the top of the head there that gives this particular animal that name. Or it could be that it has, you know, a yellow belly. Of course, there's something like that. We don't want to, not that we're saying this, he's a scaredy cat. He's not. A golden belly, maybe I should say amber, just so I don't want to insult him. So this was one where, you know, again, some of these decisions were influenced by what I saw as I was drawing, moving the eye around and you know, committing to this kind of anatomy of this guy. But I really wasn't sure, you know, where this was going. I just knew it was a little different from a lot of the other ones, and that always is a driving force. It can always be interesting if you're sort of in uncharted territory. Now, of course, you know, we can always get ourselves in a little trouble there, but, you know, it's the exploration of this process that really is important. And I mean, I think you learn as much from pieces that don't go well as much as you do from pieces that go well. So there's always something to be taken away from it. But in this case, like some of the other earlier drawings that I refer to as looking kind of whale-like, this doesn't remind me of that so much, but it does have these larger sort of secondary forms that happen around the top of the head and a little bit around the eye, you know, these big sort of bulbous areas. So that's kind of, you know, I'm just kind of playing with that. I was covering up there, that little air hole, the nostril. Maybe I didn't like it there. I liked it lower. And again, you know, this was a guy who, you know, the eyes were completely on the top, you know, a few minutes ago. So again, it's just something how a few of the lines being changed can really dramatically change the drawing. But I still think, you know, this guy is pretty interesting to move forward with based on this horn structure and this big kind of bony plate that's on his head now, going down his head and probably coming down his neck a little bit. Now with an Amphithere, the body would be pretty much you know, like a big cylinder, a snake-like body and wings, no other real appendages. I wouldn't, you know, if something really struck me, of course I would change that to a drake or whatever. These are all just starting points. But in this case, I think I chose that just because based on how many I had done and just trying to break up any patterns that we're creating. I certainly don't want to do all stereotypical dragons or drakes. But they, this guy too. He has I've mentioned the dinosaur influence, but he also has a very bird-like quality to me. The beak and the sort of the mane of horns going down the center almost looks, and the big nose almost reminds me of like a vulture a little bit. As you can see, I'm always in there erasing stuff, so I mean, nothing's set in stone. And there we go. The Amber Heart Amphithere.